Hey everyone, welcome back to News to Astonish. We discuss comics, movies, games, and more. Here to talk to you about some really interesting news, and to some it may be a bit devastating, but not to worry, rest assured, I think everything's going to be just okay, and I'll explain why in a second. So if you guys have been following my community post, I talked about how basically the rights to Spider-Man will be reverted and actually be returning to basically the Ditkos and the heirs of Steve Ditko. For those of you who don't know, Steve Ditko did die about a couple of years ago, back in 2018. The heirs of Ditko really want to get the rights to Spider-Man back because of all the money that it's been bringing Marvel Entertainment and Marvel Studios. They've never seen a penny of that. And now, at this time, it's no coincidence that the heirs of Ditko really want to take advantage of this and try to get something out of this, because Spider-Man No Way Home is coming out. Soon after that, like around March, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is coming out, which are basically properties of Steve Ditko, who created the character back in the early 60s. Really, it's no coincidence now. We've actually seen a similar case like this with the Jack Kirby estate, where they were trying to basically sue Marvel and DC. And that ended up being resolved outside of court, where they basically got paid millions and everything was just settled right outside of court. So I have a feeling that something similar along the lines is going to happen like this. And it really goes back as far as, like, you know, basically Stan Lee even suing Marvel Entertainment and Marvel Studios for not even earning a single penny. Because, you know, Stan Lee was a major part of, you know, Marvel Entertainment. He basically brought personality and the charm to Marvel Entertainment and Marvel Comics. So I'll get into those details in a bit. But before I get into that, I want you guys to go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, and click on bell notifications so you don't miss anything on the channel. I post videos on a daily basis, and I do live streams at least twice a week on Tuesdays and Sundays from 8:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and solely on Twitch on Thursdays from 8:30 to 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time as well. Follow me on my Discord. You can join my Discord server by clicking on the invitation link in the description box below. Along with my social media, the links to those are in the description box below, which is Instagram and Twitter. So definitely follow me there if you get a chance, guys. So on to the article from Giant Freaking Robot. Steve Ditko estate is suing Marvel for the rights to Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. It kind of freaked me out a little bit at first when I read it, but something like this has occurred already with the Jack Kirby estate. And knowing Marvel Entertainment, there's no way that Marvel's going to let go of their poster boy, Spider-Man, which is arguably the most popular, most profitable, and lucrative superhero ever. So to the date, the late renowned comic artist Steve Ditko remains one of the most enigmatic celebrities shrouded in their own mysterious ways. While he was best known as the co-creator of Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, he was more famous for never attempting to get a giant slice of the earnings made by the live-action adaptations of these characters. And yet now, more than 2 years after the demise of the legendary creationist Steve Ditko, his brother and heir Patrick Ditko has sued Marvel Entertainment to regain the rights to Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. My only question is, if they do that and they regain the rights to Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, what the hell are they going to do with the characters? It's not like they're comic book creators themselves. They could probably give two shits about the characters anyways. They only care about that cheddar cheese, if you know what I'm talking about, because Spider-Man is an extremely lucrative character. Like, he brings in the dough to Marvel Entertainment, plants seats in the movie theaters, if you catch my drift. The termination notice concerning Marvel's rights to Spider-Man and Doctor Strange have been submitted by the estate of the comic book legend Steve Ditko against Marvel Entertainment with the United States Copyright Office. Under the 1976 Copyright Act, Patrick Ditko is establishing the two Marvel superheroes as pure creations of Steve Ditko and something he assigned to Marvel Entertainment all those years ago in the early 60s. If this is indeed the case, such transfer rights can be terminated after 75 years. On the other hand, Marvel is claiming that Ditko was hired to create these characters. This by default makes Marvel Comics their legal owner, thus effectively nullifying the copyright claim as well as the possibility of companies' termination of rights to Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. Now, before I continue on with this article, I need to explain to you all something. After reading that paragraph, just to clarify a little bit more, in the 1960s, things were done a lot differently. People were paid differently. People were not paid as much as people do get paid on an average job, like, you know, an hourly job, basically. These people, such as Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, Jack Kirby, they were work for hire. Marvel Entertainment basically told them, okay, here you go, create these characters for this amount of money, 50 cents, to create these characters, and once you create them, make some stories, let us know when you're ready to publish them, and we'll take a look at it and we'll review it. And a lot of the disclosure agreements go into detail, like such as, okay, once you create these characters, just so you know, we do have the rights to these characters. They are basically our property. None of the contracts ever disclosed anything about earning extra bonuses or extra money if they were to be used across different kinds of mediums, such as television shows, cartoon series, movies, and even toys. None of that stuff was ever discussed, and none of that stuff was ever part of the contracts. And that's how the deal was, and that's how it remained, and that's how it should be ever since its inception back in the 60s. And what the Ditko heirs are trying to do is coerce Marvel Entertainment into trying to renegotiate their contract, because something similar along the lines happened back in like early 2002 or so, when the movies were adapting these characters onto the big screen. Stan Lee was not even seeing a penny about that. And once Stan Lee got Marvel Entertainment's attention about this, they renegotiated the contracts to have Stan Lee appear in these movies to earn a certain profit, to earn, like, let's say $500,000 to $1 million, to make an appearance and be a part of it. Because Stan Lee was the personality of Marvel Entertainment. He was the soul and the charm of Marvel Entertainment, which is why a lot of times when people talk about Stan Lee and Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko and they debate who really was the creator of such characters, people think automatically Stan Lee, when really he was really a co-creator on a lot of these characters, and he takes a lot of the credit for it because he appears in these movies. On the other hand, Jack Kirby or Steve Ditko, they never really made any appearances. They really couldn't care less. They kind of avoided interviews for the most part. And on top of that, they've become disassociated with Marvel Entertainment and Marvel Comics like over 4 or 5 decades ago. Steve Ditko left Marvel Entertainment back in 1966. So now to have the heirs of Ditko to try to sue Marvel Entertainment, it's just absurd. And knowing Marvel and Disney or Sony, they're not going to let go of Spider-Man, and they would renegotiate the contracts with Ditko or even do a settlement off court. So Marvel Entertainment has faced similar incidents to this one with Steve Ditko a few years ago, when Jack Kirby's heirs claimed that he created characters like Iron Man, Hulk, etc. And then he transferred their rights to Marvel for a monetary gain. Even though the Kirby's heirs lost many of the lawsuits, Marvel ended up settling the matter outside of court via millions of dollars. And as Spider-Man and Doctor Strange are two of the most lucrative characters of the Marvel Cinematic Universe now, it is obvious that the Marvel will be fighting hard to prove its case. But if Steve Ditko's brothers does manage to establish that the comic book artist was independent of the contractor and not a work for hire, they are in a settlement worth of millions of dollars as well. So ironically enough, Steve Ditko, who passed away June 29th, 2018, at the age of 90 due to a heart attack, willingly walked away decades ago from the same classic characters for which his brother is suing Marvel. Some say that when he left Marvel Comics in 1966, it was because of his growing differences with Stan Lee, while Blake Bell, author of Strange and Stranger, The World of Steve Ditko, had shared that it was due to Marvel Studios' failure in delivering the royalties it had promised him. Though Stan Lee, in a 2002 interview with the Los Angeles Times, stressed that he never got to know why Ditko left. The recluse celebrity, who hardly ever gave an interview, surprisingly once told New York Post that he has never ever received any royalties from Spider-Man films based on his work, and nor did he ever attempt to take what was rightfully his. Now, if you've seen any Spider-Man movie or a lot of these Marvel movies, you would notice that Steve Ditko is at least credited in like the very beginning opening credits of each of these Marvel movies and the ending credits, especially Spider-Man. He gets credited all the time. So currently, the termination notices from Steve Ditko's estate state that the Marvel Entertainment's rights to Spider-Man and Doctor Strange will terminate on June 2nd, 2023 and June 9th, 2023 respectively. Looks like Disney, which is already embroiled in the Black Widow lawsuit, which is totally different, against Scarlett Johansson, will soon be joining forces with Marvel Entertainment to fight yet another legal battle. So knowing Marvel, they don't really like to draw these battles. They don't really like to, fight like these court battles for a long time. I'm pretty sure something like this will get easily resolved before December even comes. For those of you who are worried about if we're ever going to get Spider-Man No Way Home, and if this lawsuit would ever get settled by then, don't worry about it. The movie's still happening, and so is Marvel Spider-Man 2, because if these contracts were to terminate, we will never have Spider-Man see the light of day of any entertainment medium. That means video games, toys, comics, movies, and you name it. He will never appear in anything ever again, and he'll just simply vanish and no longer become Marvel canon. But knowing Marvel Entertainment and Disney, and even Kevin Feige himself, a man who really actually cares for the character and respects these characters as a whole, they don't want that to happen. I mean, for God's sakes, Spider-Man is Marvel's poster boy. He is what basically Mickey Mouse is to Disney. This is flat out a stupid idea. Maybe the heirs of Ditko don't really give a shit. They just really want the money. And I think this is a ruse. The Ditko heirs are trying to coerce Marvel into renegotiating and coming up with a new deal so the Ditkos can get a piece of that pie. Because Spider-Man is a cash cow. And that's it, guys. So there's no need to worry. Everything's going to be okay. I know I kind of drew this video out for at least a good solid 10 minutes, and I'm sorry if I bored you, but I really wanted to talk about this and get this off my chest because this is something I've been thinking about for at least the past couple of days now. These news did break out a couple days ago and I didn't make a video on it, but I really wanted to talk about it, and I hope you guys enjoyed. And rest assured, we will be seeing Spider-Man No Way Home in theaters, and we will be playing Marvel Spider-Man 2. Don't you worry about it. Everything's going to be fine, guys. Anyways, if you all enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click on the notifications so you don't miss anything. And as always, I will see you all in the next comic panel.